Hello and welcome, friends and fellow digital hoarders. This is Digital Hoarders Anonymous, meeting number 37 that I just clarified and forgot as I was saying the word 37. We meet live on YouTube every Wednesday at 6:30-ish or 7 maybe Eastern, 3 or 3:30 or 4 Pacific. Or you can find us on Twitter. It's weird when you have to say like 10 different times.
Yeah.
It ruins my flow.
Yeah. I like your flow.
Thank you.
You're
That was
welcome.
very sweet of you. That's a good way to start the show, with a compliment.
Yeah.
Or you can find us on Twitter, where you can reach out to us about your gaming addiction, or you can tell us about that great deal you just found on Kingdom Hearts 157th and a 10th.
Yep.
Hello, my name is Alden, and I'm a digital hoarder.
Hello, my name is Dan, and I am a digital hoarder.
I just throw myself in here, I'm guessing.
Yeah. I guess we should have gone over that. If there's ever a running theme on our show, it's that we don't tell our guests what we're going to do before we do it.
I guess I'm Nicholas Downey, and I'm a digital hoarder. We'll just throw that in there.
Yes, you are.
All right.
We couldn't have gotten together on a slower gaming week, huh? Nothing going on.
Nope. Nothing to talk about.
Just this. I saw this thing like it's B4 or something.
B4. It's E something.
Actually, from the neck of woods my parents come from, it's called E-Tree. If you're from
E-Tree.
the
E-Tree, eh?
Yeah, E-Tree.
It is E3 week. And so that is why, obviously, you guys may have noticed that we are missing two people. Brandon is at E-Tree. And Doc Cupcake is also at E-Tree. Both of them are having a blast. So you get the rest of us who have sat at home watching the conference on their phones, like I have, or writing for hours and hours and apparently hours and hours for the website. Nick. Yep. And Dan, how have you been enjoying E3? E-Tree?
Yeah, I don't even know what that is. No, I have been sitting in my recliner watching it on my TV and
such
drinking
an old man.
Coke. I am, man. Gosh, I'm old.
That's
I sit there and just rub my arms with Ben Gay all day and just, hope that I feel better and cry a little bit when I see how many games I have to buy in the next year and a half. It's going to be pretty bad. Yeah.
What's the over-under on games that you saw this week that you have to buy in the next year and a half?
The over-under would probably be 40-ish. I'd probably take the over.
Oh, really? Nick, what do you think? What's your over-under on games? Mine's not 40.
I don't know. There's like, I'm going to say there's like 15 that I absolutely have to get. And then there's like 45 where it's like, oh, God damn it, I'm going to end up buying this anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say my over-under is about 30. And about 20 where I'm like, I need that game so bad. Yeah. But we all know that I am going to buy all of them. Doesn't matter. Once it comes out, as long as it's on sale, like I have to buy it on sale, right? Like it'd be a disservice to the gaming industry if I didn't buy it on sale. That's why it's on sale.
Well, to give you an example of how bad I am for picking up games and stuff that way, I had a 15-minute phone conversation when all those games dropping on February 22nd. It's like Crackdown 3, Days Gone, Anthem, and Metro. I had a phone call with my game share partner, and I was like, all right, I'm buying Metro. He's like, okay. He's like, well, Game Pass Crackdown. I'm like, yep. And he's like, we'll have to share the copy of Days Gone, so we'll go 50-50 on that. And we had this whole situation worked out so we could have all 4 games. I was like, we have a problem.
Yeah. Or a fantastic hobby. Yes. I usually pay the electric bill around the 22nd-ish. Depending on the month, I'm gonna have to ask them I'm gonna call them now and ask for an extension next February.
Let's get a generator. I think it might be cheaper than all the money you're gonna spend on games. It's gonna be ridiculous.
February, crazy. I saw somebody tweet. I hope Rockstar moves. Was it Rockstar? No. I hope Activision moves Call of Duty to February 22nd.
Oh.
And just see what happens to everybody else.
Yeah.
No, I still think it's going to be Red Dead Redemption's not going to land in October, and they'll be like, you know what, we could just throw it in February 22nd. I'm like, oh God, why?
Yeah,
it's just too much. And then some of those games that are just, God, they're just all of a sudden too. You're like, oh, okay, this game's coming out. Oh, in October, crap. This fucking sucks. What just happened?
Like all I know is like the must-have fall game I need to have is I need that Spyro Reignited trilogy. If I have that, I should be okay. There's some
that's
games
all you need from this fall.
No, but that's the one my wife told me if I don't buy it, she's divorcing me.
Okay, so that's a for sure thing.
Yeah.
Not your divorce. Buying the game.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, if the alternative is get a divorce or buy a game, you've got a good life. You know you've got a solid marriage. If the alternative is get a divorce or don't buy this game, like if my fiance Tanya said you can't buy Spider-Man or our relationship is off, that'd be a really tough sell on me. I can't.
Wait, is she in the chat?
I don't know if she is. I gotta find out. She's in my living room right now, so okay, she's nearby.
Yep.
It's okay. It's okay, Alden. We won't tell anyone.
I guess
we need to edit that out.
She is an engagement's kind of like a pre-order, right? So like I've got a pre-order on that,
right?
And I've got a pre-order on Spider-Man. I can't.
You could
not have a pre-order.
Cancel the pre-orders though, and then maybe upgrade to the special edition. Right?
Are you talking about Spider-Man or my fiance?
Absolutely. I'm not. Why would I ever say anything like that about your fiance, Tanya?
Well, let's just say the pre-order on Tanya was probably a lot more expensive than the Spider-Man pre-order.
That's true.
I don't know.
That's true.
Maybe.
And we've been together 5 years, so we've probably been working at it as long as Insomniac has been working on Spider-Man. So.
You should put that in your vows. It would be fantastic. Oh,
you cut out.
You cut out.
Did I?
Yeah, it's okay. Let's just keep going.
All right. What have you guys been playing? Dan, you go first. What have you been up to?
Well, I finished State of Decay 2. Got my 1,000 out of 1,000, which I haven't done for a long time.
Wow.
I don't know what the last one was. I don't really count Telltale games. Gosh, what was it? Maybe. I don't care really. I have no idea. And then it's been mostly that and just trying to grind and get the last achievement. Then I got a couple games. I got Dead Exit from Mark, who's in the chat actually right now. And that one's kind of like a card game, which usually isn't really my gig, but it was actually kind of fun. It's on Xbox, I think Steam. It was really interesting because like normally, like I played Gwent, which is that card game, but I've never really gotten into that kind of genre. But this one was actually kind of fun. It's actually a zombie game, which kind of fit right in with State of Decay 2. And then I also played There Came an Echo, which, while I feel like an idiot yelling at my people on the screen, it's actually a really, really fun game. You just have to play it by yourself with nobody anywhere around you, because otherwise.
So explain how this game works. You talked to me a little bit about it, but please explain to the people.
Okay, so you go in and you control, like say like a squad of people that are going to attack like an enemy base, or they have to do a mission or whatever, and all you do is you sit there and you will talk to them the entire time. You'll say like, hey, John, go over to Delta 2 and he'll move over there, and then you'll say, hey, you go over here and to Delta 3 and you'll maybe flank somebody, pull out your sniper rifle, Timmy, and Timmy will pull out a sniper rifle, you know, whatever it is. And, you know, hey, you know, everybody focus on this certain guy, you know, and everything's voice activated, you know, and you go from point to point, you know, trying to go, you know, through this mission and objective. And it's actually really kind of cool. It's a whole different dynamic, you know, to any game I've ever played before. So that game, I'm going to probably play that game quite a bit except I'm going to be only playing it by myself. So, yeah, and Mark has like 50 more Steam codes to give away. In follow him on Twitter. I don't remember your Twitter handle, Mark. Put it on the chat. Yes, it's awesome. It's actually a pretty fun game. So That's all I've really been playing this week.
Because you've been watching so much gaming.
I have been watching way too much gaming.
Yeah. Nick, have you had time to play anything, Nick?
Yeah, because fun fact, I'm an insomniac, so sometimes through certain months periods I don't sleep. So on average right now, because of what's going on and everything else, I've gotten about 4 hours sleep the past 3 days. So it gives me a fair amount of time to game and still spend time with my family and everything else. So been playing, replaying through Hellblade because I had it on Xbox. I already got the platinum on PlayStation, so I was like, oh, why not play a fantastic game again?
Yeah.
Been playing that. I actually had to boot up my Xbox to actually take a look. Slowly going back through the stuff in God of War for the platinum on that. I will get there eventually. Just collectibles just take way too much time with me, and the last Valkyrie is gonna make me bust a blood vessel.
Yeah.
And filling out my in between, I guess you would call it fun time with Dark Souls Remastered. I'm not sure if you'd call that fun, but I'm having a very great, frustrating time, and playing State of Decay 2 with my friends when I get some time too. It's fantastic.
I still haven't put any time into State of Decay 2. And as far as like that last Valkyrie in God of War was so ridiculous. I had heard people talk about the Valkyries so much, and I didn't really have an issue with any of the regular Valkyries, but that last one just took the piss right out of me at a tree. Thank you. But I was playing it in bed and just trying over and over and over again, sitting next to my fiance Tanya, and I was getting so mad. And I don't get mad at games very often. I enjoy games to be difficult, but it just, that last Valkyrie was like, there were times when it'd be like, I thought I did everything right and I'm still dying. What is going on? I'm done. I'm not playing anymore. And she would go, okay, well then maybe you should stop. And I'd be like, no, I'm doing it.
Shut up. Stop telling me how to live my life.
I did that exact same thing with Cuphead. Me and my wife played it co-op all the way through till the devil, and she gave up on the devil battle. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. I was like, I'm not giving up on this. She's like, well, I'm going to bed. So I was like, okay. So she went to bed, and like I beat it. I was like, yes, now I can go to bed. It was like 6:30 in the morning. I'm like, oh no. I'm like, well, I guess I'm getting it.
Yeah, with Cuphead, I love Cuphead so much. Cuphead's one of my favorite games that have come out in recent years. But I didn't beat it. I got to not the devil, but the dice rolling boss, the second to last boss, right? And it felt like I like to have a difficult game where I can see my progression, where I'm getting better, where I can see myself, okay, I'm here, here, and here now. I didn't feel like that with that boss in Cuphead. I kept feeling like I'm not getting any better. Like I can't get past this point without dying or getting hit. Like you have to go through the first 2 or 3 without really taking much damage at all to have any chance towards the end. Ugh.
Yeah, no,
so I didn't finish it.
That one was frustrating. Like the first time I went through it with my wife, I think it took us a couple of days of, doing like 15 attempts, then going, yeah, okay. And then I did by myself. I restarted the game when they announced the DLC at E3. I was like, oh, okay, well, I need to play through this again. So I got to it within like a couple hours. I got there in like 2 hours. I was like, okay, this isn't too bad. And I beat him like first try. And I was like, where was that 3 months ago?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. You know what? I need to go back and play it, I think.
I beat the potato.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Dan bringing the expert level knowledge.
Suck on it.
Yeah. That's another testament, though, to your relationship. I don't know how you could play that game with another person and still care about them.
I see. I have my wife that I play a good majority of my co-op games with, and then like for the super hard, angry ones, I have one of my best friends. Me and him always play those and mutually break controllers at the same time. So it's a fantastic friendship.
Oh, it sounds fantastic. My screen went blank again. All right. Anyway,
fantastic.
What have I been playing? I've been playing. I finished. What's it called? A Hat in Time. I talked about it last week.
Oh, you finished it?
I finished it. I didn't get the platinum. I'm not sure if I'm going to go back and get it. It's a really fun, cute little game. There were definitely parts in it where you realize, oh, this game this team was very small and a little over their heads, and like there were some platforming parts towards the end because the game's getting closer to the end, so it's getting more difficult, and the camera just doesn't quite handle like a AAA games camera would hold up. So it would like spin around as I'm making a jump, and I'm like, "Are you like now?" And I would fall all the way to my death, and but that didn't ruin the game. It almost did. It was really fun though. The ending was cool. I didn't get all of the time pieces. I could still go back and get 6 or 7 of them, and then get all the other stuff for the platinum. I might, but I've also been playing just a shit ton of Stardew Valley. I knew that. Yeah, I knew when it came to Vita, it was going to take over my life, and it does, because I can just be kind of sitting there and just look over and see my Vita sitting on the counter, and I'm like, yeah, I could get my crops. Like, I really need that extra cash so I can upgrade my barn, and so I spent way too much time doing that. And I went back last night and finally played, because of the fans of Digital Hoarders, the Last of Us DLC, Left Behind.
Oh.
Yeah, I can't believe I never played that. I wish I had played it before I knew kind of how it ended. I didn't know like how it got to where it gets, but I knew what happens at the end, because of people on Twitter, because it's been, what, how many years? 6 years?
Shoot, I haven't even finished the main game, so hey.
Oh,
yeah.
There's that. Do you know how it ends?
Do I know how The Last of Us ends? I heard about something, but I have no idea.
Okay, good.
But yeah.
You should play that.
It might be on my list.
Oh, tease.
What? It might be.
Yeah, so I won't go into any details. 1, because it'll spoil things for you, and 2, because everyone needs to play it. It took me like 2 hours to play it. But Naughty Dog is Naughty Dog, and they do crazy things, and they make you care about these characters. The banter. So I think that's what always strikes me as odd. So I don't know how some people just get it. The closest example I could think of last night was, I've read comic books my entire life, and Brian Bendis started writing a comic book in the early 2000s called Ultimate Spider-Man, which was like a new universe, and it starts out with teenager Spider-Man again, so they could kind of refresh. I'm getting real nerdy right now, but I don't care. Get out of here.
Bring
it. But the dialogue in that book is what made it so fantastic. Just like the banter back and forth between the characters felt like, oh, like this feels like me and my friends, or me and people that I wish were my friends. And that was a cry for help.
Lonely. You're so lonely. Oh, I feel so bad. Why am I laughing?
But it was just one of those things where I don't know why no one else has been able to pull that off. But Naughty Dog is the same way. Like the stuff with Nate and Elena, and Nate and Sully in Uncharted, and the stuff with Joel and Ellie in Last of Us, and the stuff with Ellie and Riley in Left Behind. It was all so great. Like, there are parts where there's optional dialogue, and the optional dialogue can go on forever and ever. And I still would just keep going with it. Like, I gotta hear them talk more. The way they interact is just so fun. So I'm waxing poetic about a game that came out 5 years ago that everyone thinks I played already. I told a friend at work that she was asking me what she should play next, because I've been telling her, oh, you got to play God of War. You got to play Detroit. And she was like, well, what should I play now? And I said, well, I'm playing The Last of Us DLC. And she was just like, I'm taking over your podcast. You're fired.
Yeah. So wait a minute. So the DLC happens after the main story. Is that right? Or is that like a prequel?
Oh, it jumps around in time a bit.
Oh, okay. All right. Maybe I'll play them both.
So it's Huh?
Then maybe I'll play both of them. I don't know. We'll have to see what the people say.
Oh, okay.
Whoa, dropping.
All right. So you've really just kind of said it's going to be in your poll.
It's going to be in my poll. It's actually all three of them.
I'm just going to take a stab and say that's going to be the one that wins too.
You don't know what I have on my poll, though.
There's something with The Last of Us. Like, it's weird because the first time I played The Last of Us, since we're talking about it anyway, when it came out on PS3, this was what? God, that was 2013 when that came out. So that was like 5, 6 years ago. So I was 18 at the time then, and I played through it the first time. I was just like, okay. I was like, this is a good game. I enjoyed myself. I was like, okay, this is fine. I went back to playing my Gears of War and my shooters and whatnot. And then I went and replayed it back through when I got a PS4. And, I've got 2 kids now, and and it was so much of it was like a whole different game.
Yeah.
When I played it through, because my life is in a different place than it was before. I'm not saying if you're 18, you won't appreciate The Last of Us for what it was, but there's just certain games that resonate with you more based on personal experience. Like God of War hit me in like so many different feels for personal reasons because of my own relationships with my father and everything else. And it made the game that much more powerful. And I think that's an aspect of gaming that Naughty Dog is very, very good at crafting stories with. And like I've been on podcasts before. Everyone knows I'm not the biggest Naughty Dog fan, but I will always give them credit where credit is due when it comes to character crafting, storytelling, and everything else. They've made some of the most memorable, lovable characters. I cannot even stress how much I enjoy Nathan Drake's banter through all of those games. Nonetheless, being able to do something as deep and emotional as they did with Joel and Ellie. Like it's just inconceivable what they can do and how they can make you feel these things through something like a video game.
Yeah. Well, based on what, the footage that we saw at E3, that we looked at, it looks like they're pretty much keeping that trend going, because that stuff blew me away. But I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah,
so yeah,
we'll
I guess I look forward to
more.
playing that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more in a minute when we talk about the conferences. But it is a thing that worries me, because Naughty Dog is. I've been on a few podcasts too, Nick, and everyone knows that I am one of the biggest Naughty Dog fans in the world.
Yeah, Nick. Jeez, Alden.
I just have a really bad reputation for not necessarily giving Naughty Dog the most credit when it comes to their gameplay aspects.
You have a bad reputation for disliking games that I'm in love with.
Well, that too. You can talk to Brandon like that. Brandon hopped into an episode of Gaming Perspective. I was like, well, I just don't think The Last of Us was the best game last gen.
Oh,
and Brandon immediately was like, what? He's like, you're on following block. I'm never talking to you again. I'm like, oh, okay.
You know what? He was probably only half joking.
Oh man.
He works for Sony, obviously, so he has I don't want to say bias. He doesn't have a bias. He has a dog in that fight that we don't have, but he is just a big fan of Naughty Dog and Sucker Punch and
for sure.
Sony Santa Monica. So I guess it makes that easier, like to get when you get a job there, you're like, well, I already loved you, so this is fantastic. Speaking of, he is at E3 and he is meeting with people that are Sony related, and he's having a great time, and we're all just watching all of his pictures on Twitter and his videos on Twitter. To those of you who don't know, and I'm sure most of you do, next week we have a very special guest. Brayden met up with him at E3 and he knows him, but Brian Deckhart, who is Connor in Detroit Become Human, the fantastic voice work he did in that game. And I want to anyway, he's going to be on the show next week. Him and his fiance, Dan, what's her name? I forget.
Amelia,
right? Yeah.
Right? Yep.
Yeah.
Probably should have written that down.
Yeah, well, sometimes you plan, sometimes you don't.
Yes.
She plays she's a voice in the game too, so it's going to be fantastic. Such great people. You see the things that Brandon has posted, and I'm very excited to have them on. Very excited to talk to them about their performances and talk to Brian about his performance without spoiling.
That's going to be
the game.
Hard.
It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, hey, Brian, yeah, there was that time when I took you. Oh.
Yep.
So tell me about The Last of Us. And I'm going to be like, hey, Brian, my friend Nick didn't really like Last of Us when he first played it. So
yeah.
Also, he's not very crazy about Horizon Zero Dawn.
Hey, I'm actually replaying that right now, and I'm actually enjoying myself.
Really?
Aww.
Yeah. I came off a really bad open world game and came into Horizon Zero Dawn, so I don't think I gave it the fairest of shakes. So when I was like, it's $20 for the Ultimate Edition, I was like, give it another try. And I've been loving it so far. I just must have been in a bad mood that week or something. I'm enjoying myself now.
Nice.
Well, and I'll say this too. A lot of times I try to get to a game before that hype builds because it'll affect my opinion. If I hear a game's terrible over and over and over again and then I play it, I usually go into it with lower expectations. And then when I play it, I'm like, you know what? That was a pretty good game. But when you're just being told over and over again, game of the century, this is the best game I've ever played, I usually go into it and I'm disappointed.
Yep.
So I mean, it was that way with Zelda for me. Just everyone in the world was talking about how it's the greatest game in history, and I was like, it's good. And I probably would have liked it a lot more if I hadn't gone into it expecting it to be the best game ever.
Yeah.
Anyway, E3, everybody.
E3.
It's been a pretty good E3. How would you guys rate how E3 has gone? The conferences, how'd they go? As a whole, this E3, I feel like has been very solid. It's not been bad. It's not been amazing. It's been solid. It's been good.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we're gonna, with the amount of games between the developers, between the studio, all the different studios, all the consoles. I mean, there's a lot coming, and I think 2019 is going to be really, really hard on the digital hoarders wallets for sure. So it's gonna be really, really tough. I mean, but there's some of the stuff that just I'm just like, oh my god, I gotta buy that today. What is that? Fallout? Yes, let me sign up for the beta. All right, cool. I did that. Oh, it's for the PC only, I think. Crap, this sucks. I don't even have a PC that can run it. But anyway, I mean, there's all these little things that I mean, each conference was unique. Some of them were better than others, I think. But really, in the end, I think gamers are going to win this E3. I mean, it's just so much. There's so much coming out for us to get into. So,
Nick, how about you? What do you think?
I think, as far as it goes, this has been one of the few E3s where even what people would call the disappointing conferences on social media, I found myself rather enjoying. I enjoyed almost everything. Like the Square Enix conference was obviously a little bit of a lower point than everything else, but still, it has Kingdom Hearts 3. I've been waiting for that game since I was like, God knows how old I was when the last time I played it. Yeah, pretty much. Like,
man, you might have been a child, like a tiny little baby.
Well, like PS2 it came out on, it was remastered for the PS3, so
man.
Again, it's been a long time for that. But as a whole, and like I'm a little biased in what I think because like I own an Xbox, I own a PA, I own a PlayStation, I own a PC, so there isn't much I'm missing. So like everything I see, I'm like, I can play that, I can play that, I can play that, which is a problem in itself. But there was a lot of what I liked about this E3 is because I was worried heading into it with all the leaks we were having that there wouldn't be any surprises left, and lo and behold, there was still a large amount of surprises, and there was a lot of really good games shown, and there was a lot of games that got shown that changed my mind on what I thought of those games, and in a positive way. So yeah, I think it was overall a really great E3. If I was to slap a number on, I'd say like 8 out of 10 would be a very reasonable mark.
Look, you can take the website out of the boy, but you can't take the boy out of the website. Yeah, he's got to rate it 10 out of 1 to 10.
10 out of 10. Fish AI was great.
Yep.
So let's go in order. The first conference we had was EA.
Yes.
That was a conference, right? What did you guys think of EA?
Anthem?
Anthem, yeah.
Yeah, that's about it, right?
EA is EA. They never... Like Unravel 2 coming out the same day, that was really cool. And it's now a co-op game, so that's pretty cool. That was a cool surprise.
It's so much fun too, man. That game is a blast. Love
it. You play the first one?
Yeah, I played the first one.
I'm just beating the first one, so I'm excited to start the second one now.
Yeah, my fiance Tanya is a big crochet nerd, so she as soon as we saw Unravel, first off, it's gorgeous. Second off, it's all the yarn everywhere. She had to have it. So we got that day one and played through it. So the fact that this one is co-op is so fantastic. Plus, I told you guys last week that my favorite E3 thing is and it's out now.
Yes.
Like, that's my favorite thing. EA, their conference sucked.
It really wasn't that great.
And there was no Skate 4. Get out of here, EA. I almost said E3. No, E3, you're cool. Get out of here, EA. Without Skate 4, that's a huge bummer. But doing and it's out now, completely, like, you redeemed yourself in a way. You went from, to put it in Nicholas Downey terms, you went from a 1 out of 10 to a 5 out of 10.
Yes, that's perfect. Oh my gosh. No, it was cool. Anthem looked
good. I don't know what to expect from it still, really.
No idea.
Yeah.
I think, they showed some Battlefield 5, I think, too. I was really, 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 really hoping for a Mass Effect 3 remaster.
Yeah.
But no. Or Mass Effect, trilogy remaster.
Yeah.
Got my hopes up. Skate 4 would have been nice, but I know once we get the Microsoft's conference, they've got a skate game coming out too. Yeah. I as soon as Unravel 2 showed up, I started downloading it. And I played maybe through the first couple chapters so far, and it's really, really good. It's a gorgeous game. It improves on the visuals, and I guess I should have talked about that, in the beginning. Completely forgot I played it. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I've played a couple missions, but it's actually really fun. I play by myself. I'm also lonely. I got nobody to play games with. So I wish it was.
You can't play that one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with that. I love that because, like I said, the first one I played and my fiance Tanya played, but mostly I played and she watched. I'm so excited for this one because we can play it together. And I did get it. Yeah. I got it immediately, but she was at the beach. She wasn't home, so I didn't want to start playing it and then her come home and me be like, yeah, we're halfway through.
Yeah.
Aren't you happy?
Yeah. I guess you could come home to see you involved in worse things. So that would
be that's true. That's my biggest fear.
Who is that bitch?
Yeah.
It's Unravel 2, honey. I'm sorry. I had to start it.
You know what? I feel like she'd be more upset about Unravel 2. Like,
oh man, that's an awesome relationship.
Yeah.
I love that.
So anyway, E3 you sucked. 5 out of 10.
EA, you sucked.
Yeah.
Yes,
did I say E3?
Yeah, you did.
Good gracious. Somebody take the microphone away from me. Sunday, we had Microsoft.
Yes.
A much better showing than EA's EA's was.
Oh man.
Nick, what do you think of Microsoft? And talk a bit on it, because I'm going to be completely honest here. I didn't get to watch the whole thing on Sunday, and I haven't gotten a chance to really go back and watch the whole thing, and I've only seen clips of things that people thought were cool, so I haven't really seen anything that people didn't like,
Right. So the big theme with Microsoft's E3, or it seemed to be, was fixing problems that were wrong with the brand. Seemed to be the big theme of Microsoft's E3. They were showing off a lot of third-party stuff. Like they showed off Devil May Cry 5, which was insane because up till that point, all information pointed to that being a PlayStation exclusive. And then it was on Xbox's E3. That was a big freak out point for some people. I'm interested. I love Devil May Cry games. I love hack and slash games. They're a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember all the stuff. They dropped a lot of stuff. There was that new From Software game. The name escapes me right now. I think.
Yeah.
Sekiro.
Yeah.
Probably butchering the hell out of it.
Yeah, that sounds right. Shadows Die Twice.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks different. It's a complete departure from their Dark Souls, Bloodborne style. Apparently, there's no level up systems and all that, so it's really, really cool. It's just looks like it's going to be a fun game. Microsoft bought all those studios up, the biggest one being Ninja Theory, which was surprising.
Yes.
So it'll be interesting to see what they'll be doing going forward. Hopefully it's a supportive new IP or something along the lines of Hellblade, or be interested to see what that leads to. And then there was 3 Gears of War announcements, which 2 of them don't make sense to me. Gears of War 5 makes a lot of sense for what they're doing. I like the changes they did to that. Making Kate the central focus is a big departure for them, and they really need to change something up to keep that story fresh. So I hope that plus some new gameplay elements and everything else will change that up. The Gears of War tactics game makes sense if you want to do spin-off games, but making it PC only is probably one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life.
Very weird, yeah.
Not a huge fan of
that. I just don't understand why you build up a franchise on a console and then you make spin-offs of that game that was built on that console and not make it available on the console.
Yeah.
And then the Funko Pop game, which is a mobile game, which this E3 had too much in the mobile game department. I kind of just sat there and was like, I don't like mobile games. Like I'm trying to justify buying a Vita to play on the go because I just hate cell phone gaming. So I just refuse to do it. Overall, I thought Microsoft had a really good E3. There was some stuff that might have been there and everything else that wasn't there. Like Perfect Dark wasn't there. Fable 4 wasn't there. They teased that new Halo, which is so far down the development pipes that we're not going to see it this generation. But I thought it was a good show. It's a huge...
Hold on, everybody. Dan is dying. Eaten by an alien, I think, is that sound.
All right. 1 second.
Hold on. He's coming out of the alien stomach.
He's being reborn.
And Ridley's back, everybody. And now we can't hear him.
Nope.
He's completely silent. So, nope. Dan, you might need to unplug it, plug it back in, and change the settings in Hangouts. Nope, can't hear you. What did you do? And he's gone. All right, he'll be back. Right. So they also announced Battletoads. They didn't show anything of Battletoads, did they?
No, it was very similar to the Metroid Prime announcement. Just an image. It's coming 2019, that kind of deal.
Yeah, I thought so. Cuphead got the new DLC and bosses. That makes me really excited.
Yeah, a whole new island and everything else. So that'll be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I just more Cuphead is great for me. Cuphead is so fantastic. Crackdown 3. It looks a lot better now.
Yeah, it looks a lot better. I'm still questioning their doubling down on the February 26th or 22nd date with that, because there's 3 other really, really, really good looking games coming out that day. So it'll be interesting to see if they keep that date going forward.
But Crackdown 3 does have our very own Doc Cupcake in it. So
no, that's a day one for me then.
It's got to be a day one.
Yeah.
Just, if nothing else, for me to make gifts of my Doc Cupcake, like doing awful things, that's what I need in my life.
I just need there to be a Doc Cupcake character model, and I need emotes. That's all I need.
Yes.
That'll be endless amusement for weeks.
Yes. Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, there's that's looking interesting.
Yeah, I wish Dan was with us so he could talk about this with us. I thought it looked really good. I was surprised by I expected it to look like The Witcher in the future, you know? And it doesn't look to me like anything like The Witcher.
Yeah, actually, I had Where did I stick it on my phone here? I actually had a list. It was a bunch of people from E3 that actually got to like see the actual. There was like extensive gameplay shown, and someone made a comprehensive list of what the actual game entails and what you will actually be like, what the actual gameplay is.
Oh,
so like game is first person shooter. It's supposed to be a super personal, in-depth feel. Multiple different progression systems, skills, perks, etc. The protagonist is urban merc hired gun, full character creation system, gender, looks, life path, backstory. So basically everything about your character is customizable, which is insane. So you can like pick like, you know, were you rich, were you poor, what kind of stuff happened to you through your life. So it affects how your character responds. Full night and day cycles. Class system is fluid based and on choices. You don't get to like pick a class. It's based off the decisions you make within the game.
That's really cool.
And there's like tons of things, like different weapon varieties, vehicles, motorcycles, cars, flying cars, all sorts of. And the coolest thing that I think is the fact that you can play your protagonist as male or female, but both parts are completely voiced separately. So the female voice is done for all the quest lines separately from the male voice. So it doesn't matter. It's fully immersive, which is the amount of work that would take is just blows my mind.
And they're not a big studio, and they do this. You know, Witcher 2 was monumental for that time period. Witcher 3 was gigantic. And now this is going to be even more work for them. I don't know how these are real people doing these things.
And the biggest theme that was said through E3 in the presentations is this looks almost done, which is absolutely mind-blowing when you consider Witcher 3 is only a few years old. And they built this from the ground up. It's just absolutely mind-boggling.
It's insane. I can't wait to see more. What did they say? What? There's no release date at all for that, right?
There's not even a window right now.
Right.
But stereotypically, CD Projekt Red, I don't think historically releases release dates at E3. They're more drop the trailer on YouTube and there's your release date kind of announcement style. So,
yeah. Division 2, real quick. I don't care about the Division much at all, but this one's set in DC, which I live just outside of. So I'll probably get it just because I think it's really cool when a game's set somewhere that I know. And that's probably why Fallout 3 was what it was for me, because it was set in DC and it was really cool to go by and like, oh, that's the, you know, the Lincoln Memorial or whatever. So I'll end up playing the Division 2 just because of that. I hope this one can win me over because the first one didn't.
Yeah, I hear you with the locale thing. In an example, I hate horror films. I watched it because 80% of that film was filmed in where I live.
Oh, nice.
No, like some of the scenes, like I can literally walk down an alleyway and be like, oh, that's part of the movie. I'm not going down that alleyway. There's whole parts of town I don't even go near anymore.
Man, I lived outside of Baltimore for a few years, and I went into Baltimore a lot. And I would drive by stuff all the time that was in the show The Wire. And I don't know if you guys have seen The Wire.
Yeah,
but
I've seen The Wire.
Love The Wire.
Yeah,
Sorry about that, guys.
The Wire is a great show, but driving through The Wire, not a great time.
That'd be awesome, man.
Yeah, well, okay.
Yeah.
Come to the East Coast, and I will take you through Baltimore sometime.
Sweet. Yeah, sorry about that. I had a little issue with my headset. Just my bad.
You're fine.
Yeah.
You're fine.
All right, what are we talking about? We done?
We're just about done. Just Cause 4 looks really good. Kingdom Hearts 3, they showed a trailer for, and we talked about it a bit already, but the fact that or did we talk about it before the show? Anyway, the fact that they showed the Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer at the Xbox show that they ended up showing again the next day at their show was kind of an odd choice. Because why did they have their show then? But we'll talk about that, I guess, in a minute. Yeah. They showed the new Ori, which is fine.
What?
That's about it. Huh?
What? The Ori was just fine? That was what you said?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're dead to me. I can't even do this anymore.
Did you play the first Ori and the Blind Forest?
No. Actually, I played about half of it and I loved it. I just got wrapped up into something else. Also, that might be on my list, but I don't know. We'll have to see. And I don't want to spoil anything that we're going to find out in about 10 minutes. So anyway, yeah. So yeah, it was.
It was a game I had really high hopes for.
Yeah.
It looks gorgeous. That doesn't make the game good though. Like, I enjoy the way it looks, but I felt like the Ori gameplay was just kind of mediocre. We've talked about it, I guess, before when Doc played it for his poll, but that was pre-Dan, PD.
Yeah.
It was just a little too obtuse for me. Like, I don't want you to hold my hand, but I'd like to remember where I was and where I should go. So many times I got 4 screens over in that game, and I was like, shit, I shouldn't have gone here, and now I don't know how to get back to where I was.
I see where you're coming from. That's fine. We still talking about Microsoft also?
Yeah. We did see the Life is Strange spinoff, right? And that's, Dan, you're gonna get that day one?
Yeah, that's gonna be a day when I'm dead. That, you know what? I mean, that it look actually. You know what? That one doesn't look that bad. It actually, kind of looks interesting. You know, I just don't like heavy-handedness, and for the sake of whatever in my game, just that's why I couldn't get into Life is Strange all that much. But that one actually, it looks kind of cool. I mean, I don't know. Oh, day one, it's free, right? So we don't, I think it comes out for free. Yeah, on the 16th or something like that.
Yeah, what's supposed to be it's supposed to be a free demo to introduce you to the new world that they're going to bring for Life is Strange 2.
Oh, okay. So no, so I probably won't play it. That's not going to happen.
It's from my understanding, it's only going to be like an hour to long introduction to new characters and kind of where the setting's going to be for Life is Strange 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's probably not going to happen then. Yeah, it's well, for an hour I might be able to live through it that long and not get super upset and want to punch myself in the face. So I might give that a try. I mean, it's free, right? So we should all play it, and then
let me remind our new fans, or maybe Nick, or maybe anybody who hasn't listened to Dan speak ever. He despised Life is Strange and loathed
Internet High Five.
He loathed Oxenfree, but that's another story.
Yeah, let's not even talk about it. Yeah, so there's a new game coming out by them too, and
is there?
Yeah, I think Brandon.
I thought you were joking.
No, it's by the. I don't know what it is. It looks exactly the same except it's like in a city and at night, and also really heavy-handed and probably stupid. But whatever.
All right, so moving on. We spent an hour on Microsoft. The one that I was looking forward to the most, and I'm a huge Sony fanboy, like just a nerd for Sony, just because everything they do I've loved. Bethesda was the conference I was looking forward to the most. So,
me too.
Like I said, like when I get my hopes up for something, occasionally that's a bad thing because I end up getting let down. And it's funny because with Bethesda, I feel like now that it's over and thinking back on it, I think fondly of it because of a few of the things that they talked about. But at the time, I was so bored, and I was just kind of like, why am I watching, 5 minutes of Quake? I don't care about Quake. Quake's fun to play, but I don't need to see it. And the same with Doom. I guess that one was just a teaser trailer, but it was a lot of stuff that I don't care to see details of. Stuff that would be fun. It's not a year where they had things like Dishonored to show off, and they did have some Prey stuff to show off, but even that was just them talking about Prey, and you're like, you're spending 12 minutes talking about a DLC that's about to come out.
Yeah.
So watching it was a little bit of a letdown, but there were some really cool moments. Wolfenstein, whatever that is called, the
Youngblood.
Yeah, Youngblood. The trailer looked really great. I love Wolfenstein 2 so much. And this trailer, I love the premise. I love that it's BJ's twin daughters, 20 years in the future, going off to fight their own battle. And it's set in the 80s, which is going to be such a fun time to have this. But I say fun, and it's literally like the worst setting in the whole world.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Hey, as long as I get 80s hair music in the background, that's all I care about.
Yeah. And there were so many times in the conference where it seemed like the crowd was just dead and lost. But when they showed that trailer and whoever was out there talking, I forget who it was at the time, goes, "Oh yeah, well, fuck Nazis." And it was just like, yeah. Oh, it was great.
Yeah, there was definitely Deadpool. Like I am a Bethesda fanboy to the point of what you and Brandon are PlayStation guys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like there isn't anything I won't defend that Bethesda's done. Like there is no point where I won't be like, that was a good game. Don't even try me on that. But like the first like 10 minutes, I was just like,
wasn't that Andrew WK for 10 minutes?
I was like, where did we find him? Did we just pull him out of the alley? I'm like
I thought he was dead.
I had to explain to my other writer, Jared. He's like, who's Andrew WK? I'm like, he was popular in like 2003
for 45 minutes
in October, right?
Yeah, like for like one song. I'm like, and like the music was kind of weird. The Skyrim mobile or the Elder Scrolls mobile game was just like, please don't do this to me. Wolfenstein Youngblood was a highlight. I'm a Doom fanatic, so Doom was like, okay, cool, it's happening. That's cool. Move along. Quake, don't know why they had to show that off. It's in early access on Steam. It's still in early access. It wasn't even like they were announcing it coming out of early access. I really think them announcing Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 at the end, even though just to basically say we're working on it, saved that conference as a whole, because I'm a huge Fallout fanatic. Like that's me and my wife's favorite franchise. That's why we started dating, was a mutual love of Fallout 3.
Wow.
So like I'm really nervous with the direction they're taking the new Fallout with the always online and that kind of thing. And like Bethesda games are buggy. I don't want to imagine what it's going to be like with servers included in that. That just seems like a nightmare scenario for me. But being able to look down the line and go, in like 3 years, I'll be able to play another Elder Scrolls single-player RPG. Starfield's going to be a single-player RPG. As long as they continue to have those experiences, I'll be there for the other stuff.
Yeah, Fallout was one where I am cautiously optimistic about it. I'm not a big online game playing person. I don't care much about the fact that I would rather play that game solo. And he kept saying like, oh, and you can play it solo, but it's better with friends. And it was just like, well, don't throw that but at the end. Like you're telling me already that the way I want to play it isn't the right way to play it. And maybe it would be good to get in with a few people that I'm good friends with, Dan, we could start a game on it and it might be fun. Just don't invite your friend that's really bad at video games.
Yeah, he wouldn't even come close to picking that up. That would be, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be like in the vein of like ESO where it's, it's like that, because he said it was, didn't he say something about only having like a max number of players?
Yeah.
So like 12?
Yeah.
Or something like
that? I think he said a few dozen. In every world, there's only a few dozen players at any given time, which is, I don't know how I don't know. So they have the pocket fort. So you build your fort and then you carry it around with you all the time. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I don't know if you can actually just set up a private match. There's a lot of questions still about it. So I love Fallout. I love playing the games. Fallout 4, that kind of, it was good to, for what it was. It was just, there was too much going on. But this one looks like it's going to take that base building and kind of build it up, where you're that was kind of my favorite part of it, was kind of just getting away from the story, getting away from everything else, and kind of
really
trying to, I mean, I made some really, really large settlements to the point where I was breaking the game kind of stuff. So, I mean, but it looks like it's going to be fun. If I can play it by myself or we're just with a couple people, that's fine. My biggest thing is if I go in there and there's, 20 other people on there and everybody's just running around looking for the nuke sites and just
Yeah.
blow stuff up. I mean, what the hell? I don't want to play that. I don't want to play that game.
That'll ruin my time with the game.
Absolutely will. So hopefully,
but yeah, if we could just set up a private server and it's just like the two of us and fans of the show or friends of ours who can play, that might be a good time. But I need a story in my Fallout game for it to be great. How is the story? Is it ESO where the story's there, but it's not really engaging? So it worries me. I'm cautiously optimistic, but they talked about it for 30 minutes.
Yeah, it was quite a bit.
And you're going into details that nobody really cares about. And it was such a difference compared to their last year's E3, where they had that great animated like cut through in between the trailers, and then the trailers would play and it was just like boom, 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 here's something great. And I know that they don't have that lineup this year. They don't have Dishonored coming. They don't have anything really huge at the moment other than Fallout.
They did like a 180 because last year it was just, for the gamer, for the, your own story, whatever it was, with all those single player experiences. Now they're just going, now everything's multiplayer. Yeah, I don't know about that Blades game. I mean, I don't care. Really, I really can't care about the mobile games, but that's just my generation. Now, there's going to be that game is going to get played by a ton of people. I'm sure it's just a different.
Well, and he talked about it on stage, but Fallout Shelter on mobile has been played more times than any of their other games combined.
Crazy.
That's nuts.
Crazy.
I played Fallout Shelter. I played it for a couple hours, and I was like, that was fun. I think I'm done.
That's exactly what I did.
So that stat is nuts to me. So I guess they feel like they have to keep releasing mobile stuff because
the thing with their mobile stuff too, a lot of people skipped over it on Blades. I know it's not a lot of people covered it either. He says it's going to be on every device. That means it's going to be it's going to be playable on your PlayStation. It's going to be playable on your Xbox. It's going to be playable on your PC via Steam. Thing with Bethesda is they don't seem to care about putting the mobile games as long as they're free onto other platforms. Like Fallout Shelter to me, like I played it on Xbox when it came to Xbox, and like because I was itching for something Fallout related, I ended up sinking like 26 hours into that game.
Nice.
I don't know why. I can't even explain why. I didn't sink any money into it. It was just a fun little. Every day I'd put 20 minutes into it, micromanage, do a couple of things, and then let it sit. And then next day do the same thing. But I still don't think at E3 we need to have mobile games. I know I'm in the wrong mind state. I'm not the audience they're trying to appeal for. But when you have like a huge stage with all these hardcore gamers and journalists, I feel like that's the honestly worst place to pitch a mobile game.
That's true. What they should have is they should have a day that's just mobile games and have their mobile game conference, and everyone can show up at that and do their mobile game announcement. So everybody who wants to care about those can pay attention, and everybody else can go play Spider-Man on the show floor.
Yes. Exactly. Yep.
All right. So agree. Bethesda, what do you rate the Bethesda conference?
I would say a 7, only because of Fallout. I think because I love the game. So, I would say it's 7.
Would you rate it a 7.6?
Maybe. Maybe I would.
Well,
all right, Mr. Bethesda, what do you think?
I'm with Dan. 7 out of 10 is a solid rating. Like there was some really good stuff. I'm really happy that they decided to bring Rage back. Like that's a sequel no one ever thought was going to happen. That's really cool. Cool collaborations and everything, but like the mobile game Quake, their pacing was off, I guess would be the main thing.
Yeah.
And I felt with like Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield, while that saved the show, they just kind of threw them out there. Yeah. And like they there's the joke going around on social media that Todd was like, okay, show's not doing so well. Someone throw Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 over some CGI footage and we'll announce this just to get people off our backs. But like, it's there's exciting stuff in the future, and like the Wolfenstein game, that's going to be cool. And like, there's stuff there that's cool, but it wasn't like,
Yeah, and like you're saying, the pacing was off compared to the way they've done it in the last couple of years. The pacing was way off. They really seem to have those shows nailed down to a T the last couple of years, and this one was just kind of like, I don't know. I guess we'll talk about this one for a bit, and then we'll talk about this one for a bit. And what are you gonna say? I don't know. I'm just gonna talk about the details of the game that only developers care about. So I agree. 7 out of 10, only because of a few of those announcements. I'm really excited about Wolfenstein, but I will say I am a bit concerned because what made Wolfenstein, and way more so Wolfenstein 2, as good as they were, wasn't badassery going out and shooting stuff. It was the characters and the relationships and the cool people that you met along the way. And in this trailer, they only showed the two twins. That doesn't mean anything yet, but that first Wolfenstein 2 teaser was, I say teaser, it was like 7 minutes long, but it was all about the people that you meet along the way. I mean, you met characters in that trailer that you really don't meet in the game until 3/4 of the way through. So that worries me a little bit, but it's Bethesda and it's Wolfenstein. I'm pretty sure it's going to be great.
And it is considered a standalone expansion. So like, think of it like, take the original expansion. I'm pretty sure you guys correct me if I'm wrong. Old Blood was like an 8 to 10 hour expansion on the original Wolfenstein reboot, and this one's supposed to be another 8-10 hour expansion on top of that. And there is said that a lot of the characters that you met at Wolfenstein 2 that survived along and whatnot, you'll have interactions with them down the line. And they said they didn't really want to show off a lot, which could either mean either way. I'm really interested because I've never seen Bethesda tackle a twin female perspective in a story-based game. And they could either knock this out of the park or it's going to be the cringiest thing that's ever been created. So it's exciting.
Yes. Yeah, there were a couple moments in the trailer where it was kind of like, this is a little over the top, but let's see how it plays out.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've been going so long, and we're still only to Monday morning.
Yep.
So let's real quick go through Square Enix because I don't think there's a lot to go through there. No. What do you guys think of Square Enix? What stood out? What didn't stand out? Nick, go ahead.
So they had the two new game announcements. One was The Quiet Man, and the other one was, something Babylon. Something Tales of Babylon or something. They look like
that sounds good.
Yeah, we'll go with it. They were really short teaser trailers. They look kind of cool, but it's Square Enix. I'm not going to see them in the next 4 years anyways. So the Babylon one is actually, I believe, Platinum Games' next game.
Yes.
So if you're a huge fan of Platinum Games, that's really exciting, and it's good to see them doing another game so soon.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was gonna say that those were the new announcements. Everything else was stuff we already knew about. People were kind of mad that the Avengers game wasn't there, and people were really mad that the Final Fantasy VII remake wasn't there. But we've all kind of heard different things about that, anyways. So
yeah, Dan and I talked about it last week, but they fired the entire development team a few months ago. If they showed footage of that game, everybody would know that it's bullshit. Like, this game isn't real. Stop making things up. You're ridiculous. Yeah. So I'm glad they didn't show anything.
Yeah, I'm of that mindset too, and I definitely think I don't know. I'm one of those people like with Final Fantasy VII remake. When it comes out, it'll come out and it'll be good. I don't mind waiting for games to fully come to saturation. That might not be the best term, but fruitation would have been a better word.
Saturation.
Saturation. That game got real wet before they let it out.
So did I.
But I'm one of those people that, like, if the developer needs that much time and they have the money to make it go that amount of time, then go for it. And then the Prey, the game that just released there last year, that was 11 years of development hell for that game to come out. And it was a pretty good game when it came out. So like, it wasn't 11 years of good, but it was still a pretty good game. On the flip side of that too, you can look at games like Duke Nukem Forever that took 9 years to develop and came out, and then it was like this may have been a bad decision. Yeah. But
oh man,
Square Enix, their conference was I don't know why they just didn't show their stuff on Sony's stage, but I'm pretty sure Sony had a pretty set what they wanted to show. So Square Enix was like, well, we have 2 new IP announcements that we got to do. So, and Sony doesn't have space on their conference to do that. So if we want them to have our shine, I guess we should have a conference then. So
yeah, and I feel like they would have benefited greatly from just doing a 20-minute YouTube video and throwing it up in the middle of E3, and people would have stopped what they were doing and going, oh shit, we got to check out the Square thing. But because it was a conference, people expected so much more, and it wasn't great. It wasn't, who cares? And people are talking about how bad was it Shadow of the Tomb Raider? Yeah, Shadow of the Tomb Raider looks. I saw a bit of that. I haven't seen everything. I'm really excited about Tomb Raider, but it does look worse than people kind of expected. And I don't know. It was a mediocre show. And on the flip side, I agree with you completely when you're talking about development cycles and giving them time to do what they need to do. And I don't think we need to know about it until they've got it to a place where it's ready to go. I mean,
yeah.
Unravel 2 being it's ready now. That's my ideal situation. If you want to give it a few months of hype, that's great. But if once you get past a couple years, it starts to seem a little bit too much. We're in an age now where we don't want to see things over and over and over again. The news cycle is crazy. People forget about things 4 hours after it's the biggest news in the world. So to have these games, I mean, Kingdom Hearts, we've been talking about just for years and years and years and years. And it just kind of gets to the point where you're like, well, okay, like, when is it out? Who cares? And I know not everybody's like that. I'm just speaking for a general amount of the people, but
yeah, for sure. I agree with you. Like, unless you're a console manufacturer, I truly believe like the Bethesda formula, I call it Bethesda formula, where you come to E3, you show off the game, and then you're like, yeah, this is launching in fall or spring of this upcoming next few months. You can do that as a third-party developer, and that's fine. But like, and like, if you're a console manufacturer, you need to give people reasons to buy your software. Like, I think how Sony did God of War was perfect. Announce the game at one E3, bring it to another E3, show the improvements, show where it's going, and then go, boom, it's landing in your home in spring. Like, that's fantastic. That's a great way of doing it. We don't need to know about a game. If you've got 2 drawn concept art pieces and you're like, we should announce this now.
Right.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
It's like all of us have had those friends where they're like, they're going to make a comic book, you know? And they're like, I've got 3 panels drawn, half a character model. This comic book's going to be awesome. And you're like, okay, great. Let me know when you're done. And then they never get past that.
Yeah.
Anyway, real quick, Ubisoft. Does anybody feel like we need to talk about Ubisoft? Dan, you're an Assassin's Creed fan. What do you want to say?
I like the look of that game. I like being able to play 2 different characters. Short of that, Division 2 actually looks pretty badass. I don't remember what else was out for them. Those are the 2 games from Ubisoft that caught my eye. So
there's a Rabbids game. There's there's a new Let's Dance.
Which is also coming to the Nintendo Wii.
Nintendo Wii.
Really?
Yeah, it's coming to the Nintendo Wii because Just Dance sold like, I can't even remember, it's like 30 million copies on the Nintendo Wii. So they'll keep releasing.
Bold move, Cotton.
Let's see how it plays out.
Let's see how that plays out.
The Ferrara update. The Crew 2, Trials Rising. I tweeted about it, but I really feel like Ubisoft could come out next year and just list all of that stuff off again, and everyone would be like, oh, I guess it's new stuff. I don't remember what was last year. It's just the same thing every single year. And that doesn't, I mean,
level for them is like 0 at this point. Like, the whole reason I watched their conference, besides having to cover it, was I was sitting there going, come on, Splinter Cell. And then I just ended up crying at the end. And one thing I will note, you guys watch that conference live. They need to fire their audio team because the guys were walking off the stage and they weren't.
Yeah, that was awesome.
As soon as they there was one guy who had like a freak out for 3 seconds before they cut his mic. He's like, "That's not how we rehearsed it." And then they cut his mic. I'm like,
I missed that.
Awesome. Yeah,
that definitely that bumps that conference up about 2 points for me. So I think it's at a 2.
Yeah. See, the only thing exciting I got out of the Ubisoft conference is Assassin's Creed. They've done enough to change that game that I'm going to give that a shot. I didn't feel drawn in to buy and play Origins, but with this one, with the different choices and the more RPG-focused elements, I'll give this one a shot. And Trials, I always buy all the Trials games. And the fact they added in a tandem bike for Trials just means me and my wife are going to have more domestic disputes. Oh,
yeah, that sounds weird. The Mounties are coming, buddy. They're coming.
They're coming down the mooses.
Oh, jeez. Oh
boy.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So Ubi, what was next? Sony, right?
Well, they did their PC gaming show. Does that matter? I mean,
I don't even know what that is.
I guess PC gamers get to play Yakuza. That was pretty much the only good thing I drew out of that whole conference. So
I didn't even know that was the thing.
Yeah, what excited me about the PC gaming conference is that they showed that Yakuza 0 was coming to PC, and that the price was going to be $19.99. And my first thought was, I hope PS4 has it on sale this week then, because that's kind of their model. And it was on sale yesterday, so guess who owns it?
Yes.
Nice.
I'll have it on a poll next year.
Yep.
Damn it.
And then we get to Sony. I don't want to dwell on it too much. I'm sure we're going to talk about it a lot more when Brandon's back.
Yeah.
But what did you guys think of the Sony conference?
Conference. Yes. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. There was no surprises as far as, what they were going to show. They were pretty upfront about it. Yeah. We knew exactly what to expect. But what they did give us, I think they delivered pretty hardcore. I mean, that The Last of Us 2 trailer or gameplay, whatever, it was crazy looking. I have to know how they do it. And that's one of those things where I'm just like, okay, how in the hell am I, does that happen when it doesn't seem like it's very scripted? Because I could have went a whole different way. I mean, it's just everything that happened there. And then Spider-Man, I mean, they could have probably done without that one only because it's coming out here in a few months. It looks good. I think I'm going to buy it and I'm going to play the hell out of it because I love Spider-Man. Ghost of whatever.
Ghost of
Tsushima, whatever it is. That looked awesome too.
Ghost of Sushi.
The Ghost of Sushi looked amazing. And what was the fourth one that we probably forgot about? What was the last one? I can't remember the fourth game that they showed.
Death Stranding.
That's why I forgot it because my mind got fucked. I mean, that's. I mean, that. I'm just getting to the point now.
You thought about not saying fuck, and you were like, fuck.
No, because you can't say really anything else with that game because it's so. Yeah. At this point, it looks like a Norman Reedus backpack simulator, which will sell like crazy if that's all it was, because everybody loves Norman Reedus and people like those kind of games. But right when they started to show maybe some combat, they cut to a whole nother scene, and I was like, what is happening here? I don't know. I mean, I'm more confused now that I've seen gameplay than I was prior to. I still don't know what the hell it is.
Well, there's a whole theory I was reading on Reset Era by a bunch of guys that pieced all the trailers together, and they're saying that there may not actually be combat in this game. I'm not. What? Huh. They're talking that it's going to be a story-based experience about how if you die in the one world, then you have to wander through another realm to then get back to. It was the most confusing thing I've ever read.
It's it's like a really high production value Oxenfree game. So because it's going to have so much stupid heavy-handedness, Kojima could literally shit on a plate, and people would be like, "That looks so delicious." I don't even care what it smells like, and I'm gonna shove it down my gullet, and it doesn't matter. And then, you know, I just don't understand this stuff. I mean, I know people love those guys, but whatever. I want to see Mads Mikkelsen because the guy is awesome. I love that dude. I haven't seen a single thing of him. I wanted to see him. I didn't see him. All I saw was handprints on the ground of invisible people, and then black shadows flying around with a squirrely thing on Norman Reedus' back while he's carrying several different You know, it wasn't even just like one thing of him like walking up this hill. It was like 15 different things where he had different things on his back the whole time. And I don't know what's happening. I'm so confused. The baby, we saw his ass this time instead of, I mean, it's just like, here, let me make the most absurd thing and throw this out at you, and you guys will love it and eat it up because I'm Kojima. Suck it. That's basically what Death Stranding was. All the other stuff looked awesome.
I want to get a jingle that just it's called Dan's Rants, and once an episode we ask you a question about something that you're confused about.
Yes. Well,
or I want to dub like
things.
As you're going on about that, I want to like have
just
Behind Blue Eyes by The Who just playing in the background and then getting louder and louder as you're going on and on.
Oh, sorry.
I can't disagree with you because we're like 3 trailers into this game, and like I'm a huge Metal Gear Solid fan. Like that was what sold me on PlayStation initially growing up. But like I'm sitting there at this point and I'm like, and like the walking animation. Did anyone else notice the walking animation? Like the
yeah.
It was just like, what is this?
All right.
Like this is I can't.
Counterpoint, I guess. I didn't know I was going to be a counterpoint tonight. I think it looks insane, but I really want to play it. It looks, and I said the same thing to you that I said to my fiance Tanya when she was texting me, and she's really excited about the game. She's a huge Guillermo del Toro fan.
Yeah.
And she's a huge Norman Reedus fan who isn't. And she's really intrigued by Kojima, but she's never really watched any of the Metal Gear games. What do you expect? You're going to play this game and be more confused when you're done. That's
right.
You have seen Guillermo. I can't even say that fucking name. You've seen his movies.
Del Toro.
Good job.
Is that him?
Yeah.
You're welcome, Charlie.
Charlie Fastbanger. He his movies are insane, and most of the time you get to the end and you go, oh, I don't know how we got here, but I think I know what this means.
No.
And then you go online and you look it up and you watch, or you see a Reddit thread where 20 people give their completely different theories about what that really meant. So I'm pretty sure between him and Kojima, by the time this game is over, I'm going to be questioning the life that I'm living and the world that I'm in.
Yeah, no, for sure. I can't disagree with you. I can't disagree with you. Like, I'm going to be there day one because it's a Kojima game, so I know it's going to be out there. And there's so much star power he's got in there that even if this game turns out to be the worst video game in history that was ever made, which I highly doubt it will be, I want to be one of those people that sat there and went, I bought this, I played this, and it was a thing.
Man.
Like the whole thing where he's walking, he's like Norm Reedus is crouched, the backpack's got an antenna all of a sudden, and there's all those like monsters fading in and out. I sat there and went, okay, so there's stealth mechanics. So we do know there's stealth mechanics in this game. So that's a thing. Like I feel like 3 years into knowing about this game, we shouldn't still be drawing this much of a blank. I understand having mystery and everything else, but you're trying to sell a video game, not a movie. If you know what I mean? Like this feels like they're pitching me movie trailers instead of video game trailers. But I can't say it's not working because I'm still gonna buy it. So like,
and
maybe,
how much is everybody talking about it? You know.
Exactly, because Reddit's on fire trying to piece all the trailers together because they're like, why do we keep seeing different parts of the baby in the next trailer? Are we going to see a different part of the baby? I'm like, well, I hope not, because we've seen the head and the butt. So like,
there's not much left.
Much left.
Leave a little bit to the imagination, baby.
Yeah, like that's right. we know PlayStation Bra is going to be using the baby butt in like every thumbnail for the next 6 months.
Oh my God, you're right. I didn't even think about that. Every tweet is going to be a baby butt. Game on, bro. You got my new little baby on the way. Check out my baby butt.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
I just want it to come out and be done, so I don't have to just watch any more trailers about it, because at this point I can give two shits about that game. It got to that point where I'm just like, I don't care. Now I really don't care, because you've smacked us over the head with your craziness so many times. It just doesn't matter.
No one knows what it's like.
Right? Exactly.
I will say the one thing that surprised me with the Sony show was Ghost of Tsushima.
Dude,
yeah, man.
Because like Sucker Punch, I firmly believe that Sucker Punch has never made a bad game gameplay wise. Yeah. Like mechanically, their games are perfect. Well, I wouldn't say perfect, but as close to perfect as you can get. And what that trailer highlighted is amazing. The mechanics, everything else they're going into the game, the mixture of stealth mechanics, the combat, the dynamicness of the combat, like when you're seeing them, like when you see the sword strike fall and it actually goes in and comes out and there's blood on the sword, and like you're watching the sword go, and then you're like, oh, as he's swinging that sword, there's blood dripping off that sword. Meanwhile, you're watching all these leaves like blow around. There's so much going on, and just coming from the Nintendo 64, like when I see something like that has that much detail, it just honestly blows my mind that Sucker Punch is able to pull off such smooth looking gameplay with so much detail going on in the back. The same with anything that Sony showed at this show. Like even with like The Last of Us Part 2, like when Ellie's running and she grabs that bottle off the ledge and like throws it immediately. I'm like, that's so smooth. And I'm like, if the game's this smooth, even if like obviously like when you have gameplay trailers, they're obviously like tempered to a certain way, so they always work that's expected. But if the gameplay is even half as smooth as that, that's amazing. Like that's phenomenal. Like crafting the arrow on the go, there were so many details. Like I had to watch that trailer like 6 times to go, oh, that's a new thing you can do, that's cool. Like,
yeah, Naughty Dog and Sucker Punch both have shown, and Naughty Dog more so because they've had more games come out over the last decade or so. But every game that comes out, they clearly figure out exactly what they want to do and how to do it better. Each Uncharted just got better and better and better gameplay-wise and story-wise. The Last of Us in the middle of that showed that they were getting even better at what they were doing. So I expect this game to be even that much better. And it worries me because they've had hit after hit after hit after hit. You got to feel like law of averages, one of these games is going to be a dud, you know? For every Pixar movie, every once in a while, there's one where you're like, all right, that one wasn't as good. So you'd think eventually one's going to let you down, but this one doesn't look like it's going to do it.
Nope.
Well, see, for me, like you talk about letdowns, there has been a Naughty Dog game that kind of let me down, and it's only because of how awesome the games it was sandwiched between are. And it was only when I went and played through the Uncharted collection did I realize that how much I didn't enjoy Uncharted 3 when I played Uncharted 2 and then I played Uncharted 4 after that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a bad game, but it's not of the same breadth of quality that I can't even say it's a quality issue. It's just the story didn't hit with me the same way 2 and 4 did, so to speak, I guess. Or
I agree with what you're saying. I think people lose sight of the fact that if it hadn't been for Uncharted 2 and then Uncharted 4, Uncharted 3 would be one of the best games ever. But because you have Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 4, you go from a 10 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10. And it seems like, wow, man, like it's not quite there. But if it hadn't been for those other games, you wouldn't have noticed at all, I don't think.
Yeah.
Oh, man. We got a digital hoarder in the chat that's booing Sony. Looks like.
Who is it?
It's Doc Cupcake.
Yeah, of course it is.
Oh, Doctor.
Damn it, Doc! You son of a bitch.
He's our first troll. You know what?
Yeah.
Sometimes Native is a troll. So I guess our second troll.
Block him. Kick him out of the chat.
To block.
He's banned.
Block Jeff Bartram.
Yeah, the other one was Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I think, like you said before, Alden, it's kind of that point where I didn't really need to see anymore. Yes. I was just like, yeah, okay, that looks awesome, and I'm gonna play it. I already knew that. I'm already sold. You didn't really have to do much, and I guess it reaffirmed it. Mm-hmm. But they just kept throwing out villains at you. I was just like, what is happening? This is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, just say, hey.
I was actually kind of sad with that trailer, and it's for the dumbest reason. I'm sad about it because I was worried they were going to do it, but I kind of wanted the villains to be a surprise to who we were going to see. And then they threw them all on a rooftop. I'm hoping there's going to be more than that, but there was a ton on that rooftop. Who let Rhino on a rooftop? Okay.
How did he get up there?
Yeah. Like sitting in an elevator, and Rhino's just standing beside you.
Right.
Hey, bud.
But that would be great B-roll for you know how in games you'll play and you get, you unlocked this video. That would be great B-roll. Just this is how Rhino got to the top.
Yeah, just him climbing a ladder for 30 minutes. Yeah. I got the.
Yeah, I feel like with Spider-Man, between the Game Informer and then this trailer, I feel like I know too much. It's not going to ruin the game for me because it's going to be fun as hell. I'm going to spend 3 hours just web slinging around, but I didn't need to know that much. I think we're hitting this point now with especially video games. The same thing when they did the deep dive with Days Gone. We're getting to the point where I know too much about a game before I get to play it. I almost don't want to know that much. Give me the trailers, give me the the 10-minute gameplay trailer, and then stop.
Yeah. Yep. No, I'm the same way, and I said it. I go radio silent on these games a lot, and it seems to be so often I go radio silent with Sony games. Horizon was one where I watched the first trailer and I was like, I'm super in on this game. I'm really excited. I don't want to see anything else. Spider-Man's one where I don't want to see anything else. And Last of Us, I don't want to see anything more until that game is out. Obviously, they're going to show more, but I know I'm in on that game, so I don't want to know anymore. God of War was one where I was like, nope, I'm good. Don't show me anymore.
Yep,
that gameplay that leaked for that game, I was like, not going to watch it. I just want to go into it and I want to play it. So I understand why they do it. They couldn't come out this year and show new releases or new announcements when we know the next 2 years of games that they have coming out. So what are they going to come out and say? And in 3 years, we've got this. No, because I think in 2 years, 3 years time, we're talking about a new console. They can't come out and talk about that stuff now. Plus, like I said before, we're getting to the point where hearing about things more than 2 years out is a bit too much. So I think they did exactly what they had to do. That made it a little less exciting, but it was a very solid conference. So I don't have any complaints. It's like what we were talking about with Uncharted 3. Once you have banger after banger after banger, and then this one comes out and you're like, okay, it was good. And people are like, well, that was disappointing because they expected that 2015 conference again that you're not going to get.
Well, see, and that was the thing, right? With PlayStation, their 2016 and 2017 conferences were very similar to what Microsoft did this year, where they just hit you with games, talk for a bit. I found the most jarring thing with the Sony conference, and it's because we're watching from home versus being there, starting in the church-style venue and then having to move people in that intermission bit where they kept going to intermission to where they were doing the two people talking at the table and things like that. It was kind of okay, I guess. But if you were there and you're in that church for that trailer and then you're moving to the next venue, that'd be such a cool experience. And I kind of sat there when I first watched it. I was like, this is kind of dumb. I don't really like this setup. But then I was like, if I was there, I would be losing my bananas right now because this would be the coolest thing in the world. And
I'm all out of bananas.
Yeah, honestly, and people on social media were like, oh, why'd they have the flute player? Why'd they have the guy with the banjo? I'm like, I loved it. It set the tone for the trailers. But I'm I'm a music nerd too, so it's like I love that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, me too. It was way more theatrical that way. I did find it a little bit jarring that they went. It seemed odd that they were like, "Okay, here's our first 5 minutes, and now let's all get up and move somewhere else." I thought something had gone wrong, and they were just trying to cover. It didn't seem planned. It seemed like, like in the middle of a football game when the lights go out and they cut to the announce crew, and they're like, "We don't know what to do, folks," But for me, and it just meant that we got more conversation with Meredith, friend of the show, and friend of mine. So it's really anytime she's on screen and she's talking, I'm like, it's Meredith. I know her. So for me, 10 out of 10.
Yeah. It's an 11. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Here's the thing, if you want to sit there and get out mad about format and upset, because of this, and this, that's fine. They showed 4 games. We knew what was happening. All 4 of those games looked absolutely stunning, except for Death Stranding, which looks stunning, but was ridiculous. And I won't even stop. But you know what I'm saying? It's yeah. Somebody get their guitar, or their Japanese wooden flute or whatever the hell that guy was playing. I don't even know, what was that. What the hell was he playing? It looked like a big stick.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Was it a vuvuzela? Is that what that was? I don't know what the hell that was.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that threw me off.
But Nick Strange here.
Nick Strange here. It was.
So what do you rate? What do you rate it?
I would say it's about the same as Microsoft. I'd say 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I actually see, for me, I prefer rate the conferences like based on what they showed, and what Sony showed was insanely solid. And maybe their presentation wasn't the best, but at the end of the day, I'm going to remember the games from that conference and not the presentation, because I can never remember the presentations from the past 5 years. I just sit there and go, oh, I remember that game though. Like I remember the only reason I remember the God of War presentation was because the music, and they had the full orchestra and everything. Like that was like a mind-blowing scenario. And I think I'll remember the Last of Us 2 announcement the way they did it too. And I think that's a really cool way of, if you're introducing a really big title that's important to a lot of people, doing something like that is 100% okay. Because at the end of the day, if you're doing something special for the people that are there to see it, not necessarily for the people at home, it might not bring in the same emotion, but the people that were there had nothing but great things to say about how that presentation was done. And I think that, at the top of the Resident Evil 2 remake they showed. There's another game they had that was really, really good.
They had another Tetris. Get out of here with that. That was yeah, there was a new IP that they showed that I didn't.
One that looks like it was from Remedy.
Yeah.
Oh, Control.
Yeah.
Yes.
Control. Yeah.
That actually looked really cool. That was one that shocked me. It looked really interesting. So I wanna see more of that really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they should. They did what they said they were going to do, and like I think people get too wrapped up in what they think's going to be there. And like Sean Layden quite frankly said on Twitter like 4 weeks before this, and was like, "Hey, we're doing this differently. This is exactly how we're doing it, and these are the games we're going to be showing you." And people are like, does that mean there's going to be surprises though? That means the Avengers game's going to be there. This is going to be a 3-hour show. And like, if people hype themselves up when clearly it was the same thing with PSX the year before, and they were like, we're going to do this completely differently. And people are like, so where's all these games? And they were like, we're going to talk to these developers about the process of developing games. And people are like, what? And like, and meanwhile, I'm sitting there like glued to my screen, like this is the coolest thing ever. But like, it's like different strokes for different folks, right? I didn't have a problem with the Sony conference, other than the same problems Dan had with Death Stranding. But we can play Beyond Blue Eyes for the next like 10 minutes of me and him talking about that game.
Let's do that for the outro.
Yeah.
So what was next? We had Nintendo, right? That was the last one.
Real quick, because we've been talking for I think 100 years.
Yeah, it was basically Smash Brothers. That is all I cared about. That's it.
Yeah. There was, I think someone timed it. Their 45-minute E3 presser, 24 minutes of it was Smash Brothers.
Okay, yeah. I stopped watching after,
15
they said, yeah, they said, hey, it's Smash Brothers. And then there was that guy that didn't speak English, and he kept coming back to him over and over and over again. And I felt so bad for the guy. I was like, what is happening here? And it was just like, oh, we also have this. You know, some of their moves are new, and they went through like every single one of them. And I was like, what are you doing? I said, just wait. There's some.
You know what the best part was? Is they had the Nintendo Treehouse earlier today, and they did the same damn thing again.
My
God! Did they really?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Like,
yeah.
My friend texted me. He's like, I'm watching this Nintendo Treehouse. He's like, they did 4 minutes for Mario Party, and he's like, we're 27 minutes into more Smash Brothers.
No, yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, everybody's looking forward to it. It looks basically like a port with everybody in it. So, you know, and that's fine. Just that was whatever. It's Nintendo.
Yeah, I will say this as a guy who's you know, an old man now without friends to play Smash Brothers with. I want them to announce another single player mode. That single player mode they had on the Wii version, I think, was really fun. Where you had to play through like a story, and you had to like jump through the platforming level, and then you fought
a giant hand at the end.
Yeah. You fought bosses throughout the levels too, where it would just be like, oh, now you fight Bowser for no reason, but that made it more fun for me as a single player, and then they pulled that out of the Wii U one. So I hope it's back for this one, but I don't think they said anything about it.
No, and they haven't even, from what I was reading online, they haven't even confirmed online for it yet. Like, no one said anything about it being online yet. I'm like,
it has to be online though.
I'm like, oh, good Lord, if you don't.
Yeah.
That'd be such a Nintendo move. Here's Smash Brothers that you can play with your friends, but guess what? It's couch co-op only.
Yeah.
And I'll have 9 of my friends. They're like, hey, we can fly out to each other's house and play Smash Brothers now.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. I think we're done wrapping up the conferences. Goodness gracious. I guess we should have expected that to go 2 hours.
Probably.
But overall, good conference. Nothing too bad to say other than Ubisoft and EA. Microsoft was really good. It was good to see Microsoft kind of have a return to form. It didn't blow anybody away, but it was a very good conference, and they haven't had a very good conference in a while now. Yeah. So we talk about it on the show. I love Sony, but I want to see Microsoft do it. I love Sony not because I'm like, yeah, Sony's the best and Microsoft sucks. I love Sony because their games pull me in. But for Microsoft to announce the things that they announced and to have acquired Ninja Theory, it means that maybe they're shifting their focus to some other styles of games other than their kind of focus on online multiplayer mediocre story games that they've had over the last few years. If I'm obviously going to buy Ninja Theory's game day one, no matter what it is, just because Hellblade was such a masterpiece of a game. So if they're able to do these experiences again, I'm all in. I would love to say I'm not a Sony fan. You know, I'm just a video game fan. So I hope this is a turn in the right direction for them. And like I've said before, if they're doing things the right way, then they shouldn't announce games that are 4 or 5 years out. So they have to wait until these games are getting closer to development, which means there's going to be some years that are bad. So maybe now they're getting to that point where these games are getting to the close-ish to ready to go. And they'll finally start showing these games that are better experiences and more for the gamer and less for the kid who wants to stay at home and play Call of Duty all day.
Yeah, and it's actually funny you bring that up because they had Inside Xbox that ran after, I think before, I can't remember when it ran. Regardless, they had Phil Spencer on, and he was talking about how their big focus right now is to get their first-party studios into a cycle. He said the hardest part is they dropped too many games that didn't hit the mark at the start of the generation, and now they have this dead space where they didn't have anything. And he says what they need to start doing for the future is he wants to get into a cycle so that every year a couple of their first-party studios are dropping meaningful games that people can enjoy. And then the year after that, it's a different set of studios dropping games, just getting into a cycle. Basically what Sony's been doing this generation.
Right.
So well, like every year Sony has dropped at least 2 major first party games. At least. I say that as a general rule of thumb, but just getting your studios into a cycle, giving them time, like having Gears of War 5 for people to focus on, and then, okay, well, Halo's being worked on. Like, they're still going to use those big IPs to draw people in, but I'm more interested to see, like, what Playground's going to do outside Forza, what Ninja Theory is going to start doing for them, that kind of thing. I think they've clued into it, that they can still have these multiplayer-focused things, but you've also got to play to the other demographic as well.
Right, and that doesn't mean they can't have their, their namesake be, we're the place you go to if you want to play multiplayer games and you want to play online and do all this. That's what you think of when you think Xbox. But they need to be able to draw in the rest of the video game players too. So yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah, they just have an uphill battle. Like any for Xbox, the biggest thing going forward is they need to draw in a wider demographic of games. Xbox traditionally has been very North America centric. They did really well in Europe due to FIFA during the Xbox 360 generation, but they have never really hit the mark anywhere else, and that's because there's such a multiplayer. It's hard to sell a multiplayer based console in countries that don't necessarily have top grade internet for those multiplayer games.
Yeah.
And it's selling story-based experiences worldwide is not necessarily an easier thing because you have to make them good and everything else. But they've got an uphill battle in trying to match Sony on the worldwide scale. I think they're making the steps to at least be competitive in that market space. And at the end of the day, the more these companies compete, the better the games we get and everything else. Because when there's no competition, then things start to either stagnate or one company gets too cocky and then we end up with weird decisions being made.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep. It was good. that was my hot take. You're welcome.
I only do lukewarm takes.
Yeah. No super
hot. All right, Dan, you need to do your poll. I have no idea any of the games that you're going to put on this list.
No.
So
okay, I'm just going to do games that were at E3, that the prequels or the whatever. I don't know. Last of Us. Okay. Ori, The Blind Forest. All these games I've played partially. And the third one, because I need Ringer, Just Cause 3. That's what I'm putting on there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I like the second one. I played some of this one. There was so much going on in it that I couldn't focus, and but I figured I'd throw it on there, see what happens. I'm not I have no idea who's gonna win this one, but I'm guessing it's The Last of Us. So
yeah, I have an idea.
I'm just gonna start playing right now, as soon as we get done, and knock it out.
Yeah.
So,
if for those of you who don't know, what we're gonna do is we're gonna post a poll on Twitter so that you can help us pick the games that we're gonna play. We will post that tonight. So Nick, so that we can be the deciding vote. If there's a tie, which has happened more than once, but hasn't happened in a while. Which of those 3 games would you pick for Dan to play next?
I would definitely say finish off The Last of Us. That would probably be the shoe-in for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no question for me, and I'm pretty sure Twitter's going to go the same way, and there's not going to be a need for a tiebreaker because it's going to be 80 to 10 to 10.
I'm gonna go ahead and just vote Just Cause 3 just to throw the whole poll out of whack.
go for it. Just Cause 3 is a fantastic game. It's really fun.
I feel bad because I bought it on Xbox. I got through PS Plus on my PlayStation. I still haven't played it.
Yeah. I love this.
I've only played about an hour of it, so I need to get back and play it, but it's a really fun game.
Yeah.
But nothing is going to top The Last of Us in this poll. So
no.
Definitely not.
Nope.
All right, we need to wrap up because it's been a million hours and I'm losing my voice and my caffeine. So Nick, where can people find you and what can they listen to you?
You can find me at Twitter at Undead3XVI. You can also find me on YouTube for the Gaming Perspective podcast on Saturdays at 7:30, 8-ish on a Saturday night. I'll say 7:30, 8-ish because we never have a solid launch time. The Gaming Perspective, every week we focus on a different game or topic, and we just focus in on that. We have guests sometimes, and it's generally a pretty good time. You can also find, I already plugged my Twitter. You can also find what I write at the Inner Circle Games Network. I do reviews. I do a lot of things. News, reviews, a ton of stuff. We've got a ton of great stuff that's going to be going up after E3 wraps up when everyone gets back in and starts writing. We're going to have a ton of gameplay and stuff that way. So pretty exciting times ahead.
Fantastic. And yeah, nice. check his stuff out. I've said it before, but the Gaming Perspective is one of my favorite podcasts to listen to.
Mine too.
So I really recommend it. Nick, you're fantastic at what you do.
Yes. Thanks for coming on, man. Really appreciate it.
Anytime. I honestly love coming on and talking with you guys, honestly.
Aw. All right, Dan, where can everybody find the stuff that you write?
Man. Nowhere, because I don't. On the stalls in the bathrooms. Yes. Yep. I put your number on there usually.
Oh, that's what my phone was just. Okay.
Yeah, it was just going off like crazy. All the pics that you get sent.
Yeah, a couple of them were big.
Yeah, most of them were for me. Yeah.
Well, those ones were not big.
No, those were the 20 times Zoom ones. Yeah. No. I'm on Twitter, DRodriguezWDSC, and the podcast, and at my house instead of at E3. So,
yep.
We're met.
Yeah. I did think that was really funny. Like, everybody on Twitter has their Brandon at E3, Cupcake at E3. Even like developers are like Corey Barlog at E3. And then Dan was the first person I saw who actually said Dan at home. And I was like, damn it, that's such a funny joke. I should have thought of that. So I changed mine to Dan or to Alden at Dan's house. So
I saw that, and then I was sitting there going, I wanted to change mine to Nicholas Downey at your mama's house, but then I sat there like, that's probably
oh man. That's fantastic.
Yeah, these are the things you have to do when you're not at E3 and all your friends are.
Hey, before we get off, real quick, shout out to eStarland for giving us that sponsor. Yes. I was going to do that earlier, but we got a little wrapped up. eStarland.com. Go trade in some games. They have amazing trade-in values. They have a ton of stuff to choose from. They're amazing people. We've got a link, I think, somewhere. Where's that at, Alden? I can't remember. Is that?
It's on Twitter.
It's on Twitter? Okay, yeah. And, click through there. It's awesome. I actually have some stuff I'm getting ready to send, so it will be soon. Soon.
Yeah, and their website's fantastic. There's plenty of stuff you can order. There's plenty of stuff you can trade in. They've really got that down. It's crazy how, I mean, they're a small owned company, but they have so many games and they have their system nailed down, and it's great. I tweeted about it the other day, but Up Down Down, the YouTube channel, does a show now where one of the WWE wrestlers goes town to town and visits these mom and pop style, old school game stores. And he went to his first store, and he's like, this store is so great, and they've got all these games, and their selection paled in comparison to eStarland. Like, they're supposed to be this big, well-known old school game store, but eStarland, I wish you guys would just come out to Northern Virginia just to see that store. Yeah. Their selection is unbelievable. Like, you can't leave there without going, oh, I remember this game. I had forgot all about that game, since I was 8 years old, and I just sat and played that, So, but their website houses everything. You just go on there and search through their selection, and you'll find more than one thing that you'll need to buy. So I know we preach digitally hoarding on this show, but all of us have that physical collection that we love to have, those games that we like to put on the shelf and show off. So check them out. They're fantastic. I mean, they sponsor the show, but honestly, Brandon and I have been talking about that store for forever. So
They're awesome.
Yeah, Brandon got me to go, and it was just like, oh my god, I'm never gonna leave.
Yes.
So anyway,
awesome.
Sorry for the long show. I hope it was entertaining. I know that anytime I get to talk to Nick is one of my favorite things to do. I love talking to Dan every week. We miss Brandon and Doc, but it's always a good time with you guys. So thank you guys for being on. Thank you guys for listening, and thank you guys for checking it out later and let us know what you think. Next week we'll be back, and it's a huge show. Brandon will be back. Doc will be back, but Brian Deckart and his wife, his fiance, will be on the show as well. I swear to God, I should have looked up her name, and I'm such a bad Amelia. Yes, but I forget her last name.
You're terrible.
I'm such a bad person.
I guess it's really.
I'm gonna cut this out and dub it over.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for joining us. This has been fantastic. Have a great week. #Hoard on.